In this video, we are going to go through how you can make a automated suppression flow inside of Klaviyo. So this is for your sunset flow. So these people are automatically getting suppressed and you don't have to constantly come back and do this every single month or every quarter, however you're currently doing it. This makes it so you don't have to do any of that and you can just let it run in the background and it'll take care of it. So the first thing that we need to do is come inside of Klaviyo and we want to come down to our lists and segments. From here, we're going to go ahead and create a segment. So we are going to call this sunset segment. Awesome. Okay, so we always want to start off if someone can receive marketing. And then the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we are excluding anyone that has ever placed an order, right? So we don't want to suppress our customers, just people that have not purchased and not been engaging. Typically, we will leave our customers on the list, even if they're not engaging. If you want to do a manual suppression of that, for some reason, you are more than welcome to, but we do not like to include it in our automated suppression. So we're going to do place 0 times over all time. So that now will exclude all of our customers. And then for us, it kind of depends on what your timeline looks like, but we normally like to do about 9 months. So if I take, 9 times 30 or so, we can do 270 days as our just heuristic here. So we'll go 0 times in the last 270 days. So they haven't been on the website. And then we will do opened email 0 times in the last 270 days. And then we'll do clicked email. All right, 0 times in the last 270 days. Okay, perfect. And then the last thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we are adding in a filter for somebody being at least 270 days old. For example, if they have not been in the list for 270 days, we don't want to be excluding them just because they are new. So we want to go right here and drop that in. Okay. So now what will happen is people will filter into this audience, and this audience will serve as our trigger for our flow. So there is step 1. Now the next thing while that is creating is we actually want to go ahead and create a list. This list will serve as a backup. So what will happen is people will first get put inside of this list, and then they will be suppressed. And what this does is this gives you a version control. If you ever need to go back and check who was suppressed, or maybe for some reason something fired incorrectly, you always have this, and so you have a nice clean record of who was suppressed. So we'll just go sunset suppression list, and then I'm just going to put example here. Okay, perfect. So now as people come in, we'll put them inside of this as they get suppressed. Okay, perfect. So now the next thing that we need to do is we actually need to create an API key. So we need to come into our settings, and we need to go to API keys, and then create a private API key. And for this one, we need a couple of API settings. So let me just look over here. So we need one for our profiles, which is right here. And we're going to need the other one for subscriptions. There we go. Okay. And these do need full access because they are actually going to be suppressing people. And so what we'll do is just go ahead and name it sunset suppression key example. All right. So we can go ahead and create that. Now I really don't care if you guys see this because I am going to delete it. So I will just save that in a safe place. Make sure that you copy it and you save it somewhere so you can reference it in a little bit when we go back and start actually creating everything. So the next thing that we're going to do is come into our flows. We're going to do create flow. And we're just going to do build your own. We're going to say it, call it sunset flow example. Let me go ahead and create it. Okay, so now in here, we are going to first do our trigger. So what we want is we want when somebody is added to a segment. So this is the segment that we're going to use, right? So again, when somebody meets the criteria of this segment, which is the one that we just created, they will trigger this flow. And so we actually allow re-entry just in case somebody comes in, does a few things to take them out of this, but then later comes back in. So it does make sense to go ahead and do that. So we'll go ahead and save this. Then inside of here, we want to add a few filters, right? Because if somebody takes actions while they are inside of this flow, we don't want them to continue on. So someone has opened an email at least once since starting this flow. Clicked email flow. And this we actually want 0 times. Because again, what we want to do is we want to kick them out if they have done any of these things since entering. So if they've opened an email 0 times and clicked 0 times and been active on the site 0 times. And of course, just to be extra careful, we can go ahead and throw in this placed order 0 times since starting this flow. Great. So now if somebody does any of these things when they are inside of this flow, it will kick them out, which is exactly what we want. We don't want to continue to suppress these people if they are doing the things that we kind of want them to be doing. Okay, so the next thing is we want to send this person an email, right? Because the whole goal here is once they enter, we want to see if we can re-engage them one more time. So I'm not going to actually go and set up the whole email. You can do that yourself. But what I would really suggest is doing something really simple, just a text-based email. You know, hey, you haven't been on our site in a long time. We're going to go ahead and say goodbye. If you would like to change that, just go ahead and click here. And that will make sure that anyone inside of that flow, it prevents them from being suppressed. Okay, great. So once we have that email theoretically done, now what we're going to do is go ahead and add in a time delay. I like to do 10 days. It's a good amount of time just in case anyone is kind of looking around and maybe ends up checking their email and then ends up clicking. It gives a little bit of time for someone to take an action. Okay, so then the next thing that we want to do is we want to add them to a list if they continue to not do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to add them to the list, and we're going to go ahead and do that sunset suppression list example. Right? So again, what this is going to do is if somebody enters and then they do not engage with the email, it'll wait 10 days, and then it'll add them to this list. Now, this list then, again, gives you a sort of version control in terms of, hey, if something happens or you need to go back and see who was suppressed or anything, anything goes wrong, this is just an extra backup to give you that opportunity to come back in here and double check that everything looks okay. And if necessary, you can always unsuppress those people. So once that's all done here, it's taking a second to load. Then you are going to do a webhook. So the webhook is basically going to be from your Klaviyo account to your Klaviyo account. And it's going to say, hey, take this profile and then push it into this suppression. Okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and update this webhook name. I like to just name it exactly what it is, which is the sunset suppression. Great. Now, for the destination URL, we are going to put in a string of texts. This is what it is here, and I will leave this in the description. And this is the same for every account. This is not one special to mine. This is just the endpoint for the API. So we're basically sending a text. The webhook is sending a text to Klaviyo and saying, hey, do this. And it's sending it right here. This is basically the number that it's sending it to, if you think about it like that. Okay. So next up, we need to fill out a couple of things here. Okay, so we just need a few things. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do authorization. And then right in here in the authorization piece, we need to add in this string, which is Klaviyo-API-Key. And then we do space. And then we drop in our full API key that we copied earlier. Perfect. Now we add another header here, and we're going to do our content type. This tells it what we are sending it, which is this application JSON. And then this may change at your time, but this is just the revision, so the API version that we are using. Great. Now we need to come down in here, and this is where we are going to grab the, we're going to put in the actual, basically the content of the text. So it is this string here, which again I will include in the description here so that you have it exactly. Okay, great. So now we can go ahead and actually save this. And then the next thing that we want to do is just make sure that it's working. So we can go to preview, and we can see that it is pulling in this email right here as somebody that is inside of this. So what we can do is if we go ahead and open this email address, perfect. So we can see that currently it's under never subscribed, but this person can receive emails. But we can see that they are not suppressed. So what we're going to do is go ahead and click send test request, and we get successfully sent webhook. Now if we come back here, and then we go ahead and refresh this, this person is now suppressed. So we've gone ahead and suppressed this person automatically. And so what happens is if we were to turn this live, people would, as they filter into this segment, they would trigger the flow, they would get an email. If they don't take any action, it would wait 10 days. It would go ahead and add them to this suppression list, and then it would just automatically suppress them. So this works really, really, really well. The other thing that you can do is if you want to back-populate. So for example, this sunset segment had 123 people in it. If you wanted to add all of those people and have them go through, you can go ahead and click add past profiles, and then you just do at the beginning, right? And so then that pushes them through the top, and if they do not engage, it will automatically suppress them. So that is everything on how to set up an automated sunset suppression flow. I hope this has been helpful, and thanks for your time. Bye.